What's up, guys? This is your host, Kasey Mock of the Bucks of Business podcast. Today I want to give you an opportunity to win 2 free hunts in the 2017 season. So if you're driving, you might want to pull over, get your iPhone out or your tablet, or log onto your browser on your computer. For the first hunt, you'll want to go to feverpursuit.com/podcast and register for our free hunt giveaway, where you'll have a chance to win a free trophy hunt with our team in 2017. This is different than following us on Facebook or on iTunes, although we hope you'll do that also. But in order to be registered for the free hunt, you'll want to go to the website, feverpursuit.com/podcast, and register. The second hunt giveaway comes from our guest today, Craig Ellwanger of allaboutexotics.com. Craig just launched his new website, allaboutexotics.com, and is giving away a free black buck hunt to anyone who goes to the website and subscribes. It's going to be a great opportunity for you to accomplish your hunting goals in 2017 at no cost. We hope you'll go and subscribe, and we hope you enjoy episode number 7 of the Bucks to Business podcast, which starts right now. Have you ever wondered what drives the passionate entrepreneurs and interesting people in the hunting, fishing, and outdoor industry? Well, I did, so I set out to meet them. Aldo Leopold said, "There are those who can live without wild things and those who cannot. These are the exclusive interviews with those who cannot." My name is Kasey Mock. In 2008, I turned my passion for wildlife into a career when I launched our hunting firm, Fever Pursuit. Our family of companies has grown and now includes wildlife management and ranch real estate sales. I get to work with some of the best people and top ranches in the country, and I want to share their stories of adventure, failures, and the business principles that have led to their success. This is the Bucks to Business podcast presented by Mock Ranches.
Craig, thanks for hanging out with us today.
Good to be here, Kasey.
You got a lot of exciting things happening at All About Exotics.
It is definitely an exciting time. Just launched our brand new website on Saturday. So It's been a hectic 5 days, I would say, for us around the office.
When did y'all initially start All About Exotics? The website is what? Allaboutexotics.com?
Correct.
Okay.
We launched All About Exotics originally back in 2009, and back then it was a thought that I had coming into that for quite some time, just in dealing with, really sprouted from having friends that had ranches that, offered hunting. They looked for animals. They really didn't know who to get in contact with to find animals, to stock ranches, didn't know how to reach hunters, didn't really have, websites, stuff like that. So really created the website as just kind of an online resource for connecting hunters, connecting ranchers with people that could stock their ranches, and really just information. There just really wasn't a lot online to find out about.
That's before Facebook. That's before Facebook was so popular. Your friends were still telling you back then you need to be on Facebook. Now you've got as many friends telling you need to get off of Facebook. But that's before the Facebook craze and the overexploitation of hunting. Now everybody wants to be Cameron Haynes online. And so you basically put a hub together for information about exotic wildlife. I think it was probably 6 years ago when I first met you, and it was over the phone, but we were stocking a ranch in Driftwood. It's a couple thousand acres. We were stocking it with exotics, and I needed some information on gestation periods, reproductive rates, different species, and we were calculating an animal units table for this place because we're working with MLD. We're also working with a biologist and a land trust because it's under a conservation easement. So I needed to calculate animal units for all these exotics that we were proposing to bring in. And I found All About Exotics online and called you at that point. You were very helpful. I don't know if you remember that, but it's about 6 years ago.
Yeah, I do. Absolutely. And that was kind of and I actually was doing research myself just to go on an axis hunt down in Sonora at some friend's place. So it was my first chance to actually get to hunt an exotic. And, I was browsing online, and all I would find is the same regurgitated paragraph about what an axis deer was. And
the Wikipedia definition.
Yeah, exactly. And I was, I just thought to myself, there needs to be a place that you can find more information about these animals, how to hunt them, feeding behavior, all that stuff, just in one place. And then at the same time, how about some options of places to hunt? So that kind of got the ball rolling. Got with a friend of mine that was a developer that could really put my ideas to a website, and we just kind of went from there. And it's just kind of morphed into what it has become today. What
was your vision for it when you first started? Outside of just filling a void, because a lot of businesses are started based on just that. They solve a problem. A lot of tremendous businesses are based on that. They just solve a problem in the industry, and they grow like wildfire. You've got the angle. If you've ever read the book Positioning, you've got the number one position because you were there first. So you beat everybody else to the market. You continue to outpace them. And as far as the market of providing information and a hub for exotic wildlife information, but outside of just seeing a need in the industry, did you have a bigger vision for it? 'Cause today it looks much different than it did then. So did you have a bigger vision for it when you started?
Yeah, it absolutely does. And at the time, it was really set up as kind of a directory. My background was in advertising, and it was in actually Yellow Page sales. I did Yellow Page sales in College Station for 5 years. And so
you're a good Aggie.
Oh, absolutely. Stayed there even after I graduated.
Oh, man.
Can you believe it? But, the big thing was, a lot of ranches at that time, and it's funny to kind of look back because it hasn't been that long ago, but to see how far just the exotic industry has grown and progressed since 2009 is pretty amazing. Back then, hardly anybody had a website, even a website, much less a social media presence. But
yeah, they were like the big long single page sites that you scrolled forever and ever and ever and ever on.
Exactly. So if they had one at all. So, our vision at the time was to really provide an online directory for, hundreds of different options for people that were looking to go on a hunt, where they could come to one site, find multiple options, and not have to peruse 100 different websites and some didn't even exist, or make phone calls or whatever else. So really a convenience deal. And then just grow different aspects. We added so many things to it with blogs and, we had forums and all kinds of different things. We had a directory for taxidermists and all that kind of stuff. But it just kind of grew from the simple beginnings of let's put together a simple directory for hunters, and then a way for ranchers and live sale guys to kind of connect instead of using the old Rolodex. And it's just morphed ever since. It's constantly changing. And of course, just the industry has changed just with the popularity of exotic hunting, especially here in Texas. And as well as I do that, it's boomed in the last 10 years for sure, with just the amount of interest. And
why do you think that is? Do you think the explosion of exotic hunting is tied to how expensive whitetail hunting has gotten?
It could be
tied to the deer breeding industry, that people are a little bit. I'm not implying that this is true or not, but do you think it's tied to how expensive whitetail hunting has gotten and the perception of the deer breeding industry? I think some people may be sour to that. Do you think that's driven the exotic industry?
I think it could play a little role. But I think, again, just as much, I think it's people that are just the information about the animals, seeing the animals, just looking for something new, something different to hunt. You you and I are both hunters. We never really stopped wanting to hunt something. I mean, we want to hunt whitetail and elk and mule deer and the native stuff, but you see somebody with a big mouflon or a monster, 35-inch axis, it kind of sparks your interest in, what is that? Where can I find one of those? Maybe I'd like to hunt one of those. And I think just with, the amount of ranches now in Texas that have exotics on them, I think has played a big role. It's just, I think that just the popularity overall has kind of driven the demand and the interest from hunters themselves.
Do you see exotics as a viable industry for landowners to get in today? If I'm a landowner, if I'm a guy from Houston and I just bought a ranch from Mock Ranches, by the way, if I'm a landowner from Houston, just bought a ranch and I'm looking for ways to offset my cost of ownership, my property taxes, maybe offset the cost of a high fence, pay for a ranch manager, and then pay for my hunting hobbies around the country. If I want to go on an elk hunt every year or whatever my goals are, right? If I want to go take my kids to Disney and I want the ranch, it's a large enough investment. I want the ranch to pay for some of that stuff. Maybe not necessarily pay for the real estate value, but pay the operation. Do you think the exotic hunting industry, having exotic wildlife, is a way for them to accomplish that?
Absolutely. I mean, without a doubt. I mean, it diversifies options. If you're running a commercial operation, well, if you're running a commercial hunting operation, that's just going to give you more animals to offer. Your incoming hunters, your clients, it's just
more than just a whitetail or a mule deer.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think going back to what you were saying about the deer breeding and how crazy that has gotten. And I say crazy, but just to the point of, some of these whitetail breeders are growing these just crazy huge deer. And I think we've gotten somewhat desensitized to how big whitetails are now and how many of them there are. I was just having a conversation with a buddy the other day about talking about when we were growing up and in high school and stuff and reading Texas Trophy Hunter magazine, and you would see a 170-inch whitetail, a story of somebody taking a 170-inch deer, and it was amazing. I mean, it was like, wow, I can't believe a deer can get that big. And, fast forward 10, 15 years later, and you can find a 170-inch whitetail under just about every rock in Texas. So,
yeah, I think desensitized is the right word.
Yeah. So
I think desensitized is the right word. When we were kids, we had the same stories. If our dream was always, score didn't matter. It was always, we wanted to kill a 20-inch deer. It didn't matter if this thing had 4-inch tines, We wanted to kill a 20-inch deer. And you knew when somebody killed a wide deer, that seemed like the metric around us was the width. And somebody killed a wide one, they would leave the tailgate down, or they'd put it on the hood of the car, or everybody driving down the road could see this deer. They made sure everybody could see it. And it is a little desensitized, I think, to that. Yeah. We have become desensitized.
And I don't
think the deer breeding deal is a bad industry. I don't think it's an inherently bad industry. It allows landowners to make a profit off of a piece of ground that otherwise wouldn't produce much revenue back to them, and it allows families to keep ranches intact. And so for the tool that it's used for in that perspective, I really don't think it's an inherently bad industry, but it has desensitized us.
Right.
And it's made things really expensive.
Yeah, and so many people got into it and have gotten into it and created, and grown these monster deer that, it's really driven the price of monster deer down, which, is good for the hunter. But I think as far from a landowner standpoint, you putting out a 220-inch deer that's available probably isn't going to gain the notoriety that it did. Well, I know it won't 15 years ago. So
yeah, or 5 years ago.
Hey guys, let's talk real estate for a second. Buying or selling a piece of land may be the largest financial transaction you'll ever make. Gary Keller once said, "There are two kinds of real estate agents, those who list property and those who market property." At Mock Ranches, we are ranch marketing experts. So choose a real estate firm that specializes in land sales and understands land management. Learn more at mockranches.com and receive a free ranch map when you mention the Bucks to Business podcast. That's mockranches.com. Our feature ranch listing for this episode is the 1,604-acre Hoof and Horn Ranch in Zephyr, Texas. Hoof and Horn is perfectly set up for the whitetail deer breeder or exotic wildlife enthusiast. There are 50 breeding pens, an indoor handling facility, and the ranch is divided into 4 large high-fenced pastures where you can easily rotate or separate different species of animals. I've seen a lot of ranches and not many are set up as well as this one for exotic wildlife hunting. You'll want to go to our website at www.mockranches.com or just call Kasey at 512-787-1849 for information on the Hoof and Horn Ranch.
When you compare the whitetail to the exotics, though, do you think, is there a difference in profit margin? And some people may not like the way we approach this because I'm approaching it like we're exploiting this resource for gain, but in fact, that's what we do when we sell hunts. And if you devalue a species, you pretty much sentence it to death. So these animals are very valuable to us, both the indigenous species and the exotic species, very valuable to us as landowners. Do you think there's a difference in profit margin for somebody that's running exotic hunts versus the whitetail hunts? I know there's a stark difference because of deer densities or trophies, the amount of acres it takes to produce a trophy whitetail on native range versus the amount of acres that you could stock or manipulate a whitetail population with the deer breeding operation. But when it comes to exotics, there's so many different ways to get them. You're not helicopter trapping or doing things with whitetail as often as we do with exotics anyway. So do you see landowners are turning much of a net profit? New landowners getting in the exotic industry. We have some insight into that, but you're the exotic guy, so I'm just asking if you've seen any of that.
Yeah, and it just depends. It depends. You want to get hooked up with, reliable, dependable, either breeders, trappers, like you mentioned, guys that have been doing it a long time, and so in putting up a high fence, essentially, which is most exotics are going to have to be kept inside a high fence.
Sure.
You're creating obviously a great deal of responsibility on yourself to maintain those animals and maintain those populations that you have inside that high fence. So in a lot of cases, these ranches become overstocked. They don't sell enough hunts to take all the animals they need to take with their most of these animals are pretty prolific. So
yes,
a lot of cases
they're more prolific than your indigenous species.
Absolutely. And so, there's surplus animals everywhere. So there's a need that they need somebody to take on these animals. They need to be able to move them out because they don't have enough range, or they can't feed them essentially, or don't want to have to. So they're going to find another ranch that needs those animals. And it's a constant, that's constant going back and forth, of stocking and, finding more animals and raising animals and then selling your surplus and bringing in new species and stuff like that. So, yeah.
That goes back to the exotics not being publicly owned. If you look at the indigenous species, they're whitetail deer. Let's just talk about whitetail. They're a publicly owned species. Therefore, the capture, transport, release, buy, sale of those is regulated by the state. And the exotics, it's not, correct?
Correct. And there's just not a whole lot of regulation with exotics. And that's from breeding them, buying them, transporting.
You think that's good or bad?
You
think that's good or bad?
It's kind of something I'm on the fence about. I hate regulation. I don't really want them to regulate any more than they have to. But in some cases, maybe it's not the worst thing. to have, certain sets of rules. And I just don't think that there's enough research done to this point to know, I don't want regulation that's just based on somebody's idea of, oh, well, you should have to do this. But, I think we need to know because these animals are here now. You know as well as I do that there's plenty of free-ranging population. The axis population in Texas is crazy. I mean, it's
huge questions.
There are axis everywhere. So at some point, we as a state are going to have to figure out how to manage, if not necessarily inside private ranches, the public free-range access. So I don't necessarily, and I don't have the answers, but there may come a time where it's going to have to be a little more hands-on with, how they handle the exotics in general, and just have some rules, like not many, but have maybe a few, to kind of keep things in balance. Because you obviously don't want to affect our native wildlife.
Well,
you don't want to.
Well, you hear some deer breeders make that complaint. You hear deer breeders make that complaint. They say with the recent chronic wasting disease scare that we had earlier this year, which was, a disaster. It was not handled probably the best by any party involved, in my opinion. And it's, I may get crucified for that, but it wasn't handled the best by any party involved. But you hear deer breeders say, well, why are we being so regulated on the transport and buy, sell, breeding of whitetail deer? We actually think it's coming from elk, and people can transport elk all they want, which elk are considered an exotic in Texas. So at least outside of their home range. And people can buy, sell, do whatever, transport elk around. We know elk carry CWD because it's all through the western states. So you hear that from deer breeders, and thanks for sharing your opinion on that. Some people may dodge that question, so thanks for sharing your opinion on that.
Sure.
Quality genetics. I don't think people look at exotics and they look for quality genetics as intently as they do their whitetail. Everybody in the country would tell you, well, we can't shoot that 2.5-year-old 8-point because he might turn to something better. And everybody's got their opinion on antler configuration and native wildlife. But when you get into the exotics, I think people just buy a load of axes. They'll call Vic, or they'll call Travis Buell, or a bunch of other guys that we might work with, and buy a load of axis deer, and you don't know the background on them. We try to be pretty selective, and both of those guys have been very cooperative with me when we bought, about making sure we can get a background on some of the animals. But talk to me about quality genetics, because when we talk exotics, you've got both antlered and horned animals. So talk to me about quality genetics. What kind of insight can you give there? How important is it? Do you think on the horned animals, is it just an age thing? Do you think they just keep growing as they get older? Or is there a genetic angle to some being monsters and some not?
No, I think there are definitely parallels between what we're doing with the whitetails and what can be done with exotics. I think that it's no different. So I think that's something that you're going to see more going forward. In the past, like you said, I don't think there was any emphasis put on, of course, if you're buying a 30+ inch axis to put on your ranch, he's going to cost you more than a 20-inch axis. It's just based on size.
How much more? I buy and sell a bunch of them, but how much more?
You're looking at double. For that, somewhere in there. Mm-hmm. So, but
yeah, you can get axis does for about $350, and those small bucks for $750 to $1,200 maybe, and the big ones are double that.
Yeah. So, in the past, it's a lot of, just give me a certain of this size, certain of that size. We want to stock the ranch, raise them, sell hunts. But I think there's a lot more thought going into, we've got a monster axis out here. He is a monster, or a non-typical or maybe he's a 36-inch axis, do you think maybe that deer is worth more if we keep him and breed him with some of our does and turn him actually into a breeder than just selling him to an individual hunter? And there absolutely is. So I think you're starting to see wheels kind of turn with some operations, and I already know some people that have gotten that ball kind of rolling into really finding the best of the best and not hunting them, but breeding them, and then maybe selling the stock, just like and you're able to just grow bigger trophy animals, whether that's for yard ornaments at your ranch, or if that's to stock a ranch to hunt with, or if that's to start your own herd on your ranch. Those animals fetch a higher price. So it makes sense to not necessarily just put and take. It's, you really got to think about if you've got some special animals or some high quality animals, maybe you want to put them on your ranch and let them breed and protect them and make sure that, you can produce more of those down the line. And it's kind of a longer term play, obviously, but it could be the one that's the most beneficial to your operation.
Yeah. What about, so we see a lot of people that have just your standard exotics. You got the axis deer, black buck, fallow deer. Those seem to be the three most popular. If people can tolerate them, that aoudad is the next logical way that they tend to go. And then you start getting into your scimitar horned oryx. But what opportunities are there in the super exotics that you're seeing? Your kudu, sable, gemsbok. What opportunities do you see there?
Well, I think you see more and more now. I mean, than you've ever seen in the past. I think Texas landowners and private ranch owners have done such a great job of going through I know it's an arduous process of bringing animals from, say, Africa or some of these native lands where they're in such low numbers, and bringing them here, basically providing a place for them to reproduce and proliferate. And, there's just so many success stories. And you talk about the scimitar horned oryx, and obviously it's been through some interesting trials since we started. Going
Absolutely.
back to 2012 with the reversal of the EWA or the ESA exemption, and there
were three species in that, right? It was the oryx, Dama gazelle, and what was the other one?
Addax antelope.
Addax, that's right.
Yeah. So with those, there was such, and we were right in the middle of it with just nobody knowing exactly what was going to happen, and that was, and you touched on it earlier. It's these animals, these wildlife have a distinct value to ranches, landowners, even hunters. So when they talk about taking that away and basically saying, okay, you can no longer hunt these, or you can no longer trap, transport, any of that stuff, because they're now going to be considered endangered again, even though populations in Texas were flourishing like crazy, then people get scared. People don't have all the information. If you own these animals, they're, during that time, that was early 2012, and it was really sad because what happened was a giant fire sale on, especially the scimitar oryx. Ranches were being told, well, we can't really tell you all the details. Just know that you're not going to be able to hunt them, or not going to be able to sell them or get rid of them. So after this date, it just created this hysteria that we had just an influx of trophy pictures of people taking oryx, because you could buy an oryx hunt for, I remember, I think the lowest I saw was $600 for an oryx. And an
wow.
Oryx, today is.
It should be a $3,000, $3,500 hunt.
Yeah, absolutely. So they were just by the droves. We were seeing pictures of them because landowners they didn't have a choice because they didn't know what was going to happen. And, once they say you can't hunt them and you can't sell them off, well, you still got to feed them. You can't just let them sit out in the pasture and die. So, they just had to do whatever they had to do.
I think people were going to shoot him, shoot him and put him in a hole, or they were going to let him out. And we were supportive of the hunter conservationist effort in that to fight that, because there was no question in my mind, if the Endangered Species Act was reversed and those animals were listed, that would have been the end of those species, except for some micro populations in a couple of places like parks. It would have been the end of those species.
Well, and I think that was just those few months there leading up to it, when nobody really knew what was going to happen. You saw that, a little microcosm of that, of what was going to happen. I mean, those, there was going to be, those animals would have gone from flourishing populations to nothing overnight. And, that's just sad. But to get back to your question about the supers, I just think, we have them here now. You don't find your sable and your kudu and stuff like that as regularly as you're going to find your common stuff. But there's a lot out there, and those are.
Do you think a landowner should consider those? And they're a lot bigger investment on the front end, but should a landowner consider sable, kudu, Gemsbok, bongo, some of the super species instead of the axis? If a guy's wanting to get into the industry and wanting to pay some bills to his hunting operation on his ranch, should he consider those and target a little higher end client, higher price point hunter, not run the volume of hunts, but spend the money and stock with supers? You think there's a big enough market for them for people to get in and do that?
I think there's a big enough market. The only, what you run into, and you kind of have to weigh when you're going through deciding on something like that, is, if you're talking about bongos, which that takes me back to when the first exotic I ever was pretty much introduced to was a bongo named Shadazy on a ranch that I was interning at in college. And I gave her that name, by the way. But
I love bongo.
I fell in love with the bongos. And but bongos run even live sale or $30,000 to buy a bongo bull. So that's good, and there's a margin there to turn around and maybe sell that animal in a couple of years or sell a hunt for him. But there's also, obviously, that's a big gamble, because if that animal for whatever reason doesn't make it, I mean, you're out a big chunk of change.
Did you listen to episode 6? Did you listen to episode 6 with Gerald and Stephanie Wattrich, Austin SCI?
I heard it. No, that's the next one that I'm listening to.
Oh, they got a great bongo hunt story. People, if you are listening to the podcast, you need to go back and listen to episode 6 with Gerald and Stephanie Wattrich from Austin Safari Club International, because they tell their story of hunting bongo in the jungle of Cameroon. And why the bongo is so expensive when you hear this story, because they hunt them for 10 days. They're wet for 10 days, sleeping on the ground, hunting with the pygmy people in the jungle. And they got charged by a bull jungle elephant that actually killed their lead tracker right there with them there. And so that's why the bongo and some of these are so expensive to hunt here in the States, and their guide got malaria, their outfitter got malaria. So think of the risk, right? If you're a doctor and you're going to the jungle of Cameroon to hunt a bongo because that's one of your dream species, and if I were to tell you, Craig, you can go hunt a bongo, it's going to cost you $50,000. You're going to say, okay, I can spend $50,000. I'm going to say, okay, you're going to have to get to Cameroon. You're going to have to pay somebody off to get on the tarmac in the airport. Your lead tracker is going to get run over by an elephant and killed, and your outfitter is going to get malaria. We're not real sure what's going to happen with you, but we think you'll get a bongo. Or I'd say, or Craig, you can stay here and hunt one for $60, and we can go do it in a couple of days. And we know you'll be safe, and you can get home next weekend to see your family. That's why there's a market for them here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So it just comes down to the individual ranch owner, kind of making that business decision. How much risk do you want to have in your portfolio of animals, essentially? But it's definitely an option. So
what diseases do you see in the exotics? In the whitetail, we predominantly got EHD and blue tongue. The pin deer, you were going to have some internal parasite issues when you release them into the pasture, but it seems like EHD and blue tongue are the main two things that we lose deer to. In the exotics, what diseases do you see that landowners should be watching for?
Kasey, that's a good question that I don't have a single answer to that will help you out.
I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll find an answer to that. I'm going to write myself a note. Find disease issues for blog posts.
The hands-on that I've done, we didn't have any issues with the animals, and I don't have enough interaction with the breeders to tell me.
Well, I will find the answer to that, and I'll share it with you, and then we'll do a blog post about it. And I can probably run it in sync with the blog post about managing parasites and disease in your whitetail herds too.
Sure.
So we'll run that blog through Mock Ranches and Feeder Pursuit, and then All About Exotics. We'll collaborate with y'all on it.
Right on.
So let's switch into the new website because we've got about 20 more minutes that we can go here. So tell me what you're doing with the new website. Y'all are moved from just a resource for people that are interested in learning about exotics, a better resource than Wikipedia that didn't exist back then, to now moving towards more of a booking role and taking the position of connecting people with hunters. So I want to learn about the website. You're doing multiple things on social media that we discussed earlier before the call. So I want to learn about those and any other companies that you're running and starting, and we'll wrap up with how people can find you and what contests you got going. So tell us about the website.
Yeah, absolutely. So, in the last, our main goal was to just get more hands-on with the connecting of hunters with hunts and hunters with premier outfitters and ranches in the industry. We've got so much experience with and good relationships with a lot of these guys, and know we just have a lot of expertise that we wanted to pass on more than just putting a directory up on the website and kind of going through a list of ranches and hunt providers. So that's essentially what we've done is we've created a full-fledged online booking site through All About Exotics now, where we're one consultant first. If you're looking for anything, if you just need some advice on a certain hunt that you or a group of guys are wanting to go on, we can kind of help you walk through the process, give you some of our feedback. It's unbiased. We're just trying to put people in touch with other good people in the industry that we know treat their hunters right, can get them on good animals, provide a great experience over a weekend or during their hunt. And so that's really the focus of the new look site that we just launched this past week and a half ago now, which is you can get on. We've got listings for what's currently available to hunt with some of our hunt providers. You can book directly through the site. Of course, we can help walk you through it, but essentially we're only handling the deposit. You pay the deposit, and then we connect you with who you're actually hunting with, and then you can line up your dates and ask any more questions and do that kind of stuff. But just really want to help people out more directly than we have in the past, and wanted to provide a place. If you're going to find a hotel room when you're traveling cross country, you're not going to every Hilton website and every hotel site and checking it out. You're just getting on hotels.com. So
yes, sir.
That's what we've created is the hotels.com for exotic hunting. And of course we still have all the old features from the beginning site with our site blog and our partners and conservation information, a lot of other features to it. But we just want to help people out. We want to help people find, once in a lifetime or dream hunt experiences, and just kind of help them through it, because there are so many places that you can hunt and so many outfits, and most of them are great, and some of them we don't even know. But there's some out there that may not run the tightest ship, and we can kind of help you steer around those guys, and to people that we know, that we would trust our hard-earned money with personally. And a lot of these guys we've hunted with personally, and seen their places and kind of have firsthand experience, and can just help. So, if there's something that's not on the website, you can call us directly. We can walk you through every step of the process. But yeah, that's kind of what the new website's all about. And we've got some kind of cool stuff that goes along with it, social media and all that stuff. So,
are you doing this full time?
Full time, absolutely. This is my life.
That's a recent change, isn't it?
It is a recent change, and it is. It's one of those things. I've run the site, and it's been a lot of me. I've got some help throughout the years, and I've got a team that helps with the website and graphics and stuff like that. But I run a lot of the day-to-day, and I guess you'd say the face of All About Exotics. But yeah, in the past, it's kind of been a side deal, and I've always had to have a full-time job, because, as you probably know, this doesn't pay that great, but it's what I'm passionate about. So I got to a point where
we do it because we love it.
We do it because we love it, absolutely. And it just gotten to the point where if the website was going to become what I want it to become, and what I know that it will become, I was just going to have to dedicate more time, and by that I mean basically 24/7, 365. So I did. I left my old job, kind of took the leap of faith, and said I'm just going to make it work, and that was about, I guess, 5 months ago now. So here we are. We're still going, blowing and going, and busy.
We haven't missed any mortgage payments yet.
No, not one. So that's important. That is extremely important. So yeah, but it's been a lot of. And I've never been more reliant on it.
How's the website connect to? It looks good, man. The stuff you're doing looks really good. The website looks great. Put out a lot of content and are running some contests, which I'm interested to learn more about. So I'm real proud for what you're doing. It looks really nice. It's first class. And the exotic industry, I think, is so clouded with so many options and a lot of people, and you get people trying to sell hunts online, on Facebook a bunch, because they've just got too many of them, like you said. And I think people have their guard up a little bit because the animals look good, but there's so much that makes a good hunt. You still have to be a good business person, and I think people at times have their guard up. That's why we got into the booking industry in 2008 through our firm, Fever Pursuit, and our goal is Western hunts. We've never done many exotic hunts at all, and now that I know you better, you'll be our partner for exotic hunts. But we've only done Western hunts because the exotic deal was pretty confusing, frankly, for us. We didn't really know who to go to. I haven't hunted a lot of exotics myself outside of some free range stuff that we booked the hunt specifically for that. And so it wasn't something we felt like we could be an expert in. And I like the way you've narrowed your focus down. The hunting industry has no shortage of booking consultants or agents. We didn't do a good enough. I know when I opened our firm, I didn't do a good enough benchmark and trend study, and had no idea how many people were in it. And it seemed like everybody wants to book hunts. But I like the way you've gone narrow here with your focus. Just focus on the Texas exotics, and I think you're going to be really successful. I'm excited to see the kind of growth. How does it work with the social media pages and the other businesses that you're involved in?
Well, so we've got we do a lot on Facebook. I mean, that's kind of been our main. Actually, we started on Twitter, I'll be honest, back in the day, and I'm never getting on Facebook kind of guy. And but with Twitter, we just didn't. It sometimes just sounds like you're talking in an empty gymnasium, and you just don't get enough interaction. So came over to Facebook, and we started a page for the website that I run mostly. And then we started a few groups that kind of supplement just kind of community groups. One is for the hunting side, which is exotic hunting in Texas. And then we've got for the ranchers and live sale guys, we also run exotic traders. So keep those pretty well separate, but they're two really good resources for meeting people, for kind of interacting with us. I'm on there pretty constantly trying to help people out any way that I can. And so we use that. We just started Instagram, getting accustomed to that. I'm only 36, but sometimes I feel like, social media is outpacing me, but we're doing this and we're doing our best to keep up. But I enjoy it. I mean, it's something that's very useful for interaction for us and people to easily communicate, ask questions. I'm answering a lot of the questions I answer about hunts, honestly, come through Facebook private messaging. People reach out and say, here's what I'm looking for. Can you help me out? So we're happy to do that. And, it plays an integral part for sure. But yeah, it all kind of ties back to the site, but all of it's important, just to stay connected. I mean, that's our main thing is connecting people. So social media definitely helps with that.
Any other businesses that you're involved in?
We are as far as the exotic
that are relevant or that you want to talk about. Yeah, just like attached similar businesses.
Yeah, so we're helping out with a new website called Herd Livestock. It's a Zillow type site for selling just about any animal, trailers, farm equipment, stuff like that. It's a major project, and we help do some consulting on that. The guys, Joe and Greg and his whole team over there did a really excellent job of putting together an awesome site. It was a major undertaking, and they just launched, I believe, just a couple days ago. And they're starting with exotics. So if you do deal in exotics, you do want to check that out for sure. Get with me. I can get you hooked up on the site and get you using it for no cost. And that's a pretty cool project to be involved with. But other than that,
I'm on their website right now. It's a cool looking site. Okay. You said you did some website development, photography for exotics, some consulting. We talked about herd livestock. You're a busy man.
Yeah, busy man. Yeah, I'm staying busy. So all I'm trying to do is make enough money to pay people to help us out. So that's my next goal. I need a Virginia in my life.
Hey, Virginia's good. She's real good. I looked for 9 months to find my Virginia. So I'll tell you this. I'll send you a good book too, or you can come to one of our classes that we do at KW on hiring and recruiting. I'll get you an invitation to one. But we follow the principle. We follow the very strict principle of hire slow, learn everything you can, and fire fast. And that takes accountability. It doesn't mean you don't like the people you're working with, but we have strict accountability. We perform at a really high level, and she does a really good job. Yeah. She'll edit this, so she'll get to hear your compliment. She'll appreciate that.
Well, good.
What are your goals moving forward? What's your 5-year goal for the companies?
Well, the big thing is I want to be, I think that we're pretty well known in the industry as a resource and for, our expertise and being really an unbiased, we get approached from all sides, I guess, from the live sale side, from the hunting side, from ranches and outfitters and hunters alike, just all kind of come to us to ask about, different things. So, I think we're a really good resource. I want to be the booking site for anybody that's booking an exotic hunt. I want them to at least ask us a question before they book a hunt, or ask an opinion or that kind of thing. I want to grow it to the point of, I'd like to have a staff that's handling every part of what we do. It's like I said, I've kind of feel like a 10-leg spider right now with where or my hands have to go constantly. But, I want to have somebody dedicated to the social side, dedicated to billing, all that kind of good stuff. So we want to do, I do have several people on my staff that help me tremendously. My web developer, my partner, Jason Whitfield, who is a Texan, but moved away he lives in Indianapolis now. So, but we communicate every day. I've got several guys that help with the social side, and my sister actually handles a lot of marketing and graphic stuff. She's got a good background in that, and is very happy to help. So I'm very blessed to have the people that I have right now. We just need about 10 more of them. So, I want that to be my next problem, is having just too much to physically even do. So,
what's your next key hire?
Next key hire, probably hopefully it's my bookkeeper. I need a better bookkeeper.
It's good.
I need to, we need to, the billing side, we got to make sure that's flawless. The biggest complaints we get from going into, booking hunts was who's not paying who, or if anybody's bad mouthing anybody in the business, it's usually because they hadn't been paid. So, we want to make sure that none of that stuff is ever, we don't miss a deposit getting to our hunt provider. We don't miss a refund getting to our hunter, whatever the case. So that's a big deal for me. And then I'd honestly like to have a social media, someone dedicated to our social side, and really grow it more than it's even grown to this point. Really blow it up, because we both.
How do you find those people? Do you have a plan to find them?
No, I hadn't started looking yet. So, anybody that's out there, send a resume. I'm open to.
We try to find models. We try to follow models in our company, and the book that we use pretty religiously, it's a real estate book, but it applies to business as a whole. It's called The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, MREA, written by Gary Keller. And in there, it talks about leverage in the form of people and who to hire first. And your first key hire should be like an executive assistant of Virginia, somebody that's really good at keeping your life organized, because rainmakers like yourself, people that are out hustling business and making business happen, we tend to also create a lot of chaos. And chaos can go unattended to and undone for a period of time, but it can't go unhandled forever. Most entrepreneurs, by the way, really, really struggle with that. Most entrepreneurs get to a point where you see a limit in their business. You see people that own small businesses, a construction company, a plumbing company, a blog, they own an outfitting business, and they grow to a point and they never cross that chasm. They never grow past that point. And I think it's because they never learned to deal with the chaos so that they could grow the business to a point it would start supporting people. So, really all you do at that point is you own your own job. You're owning a job. You don't have a company until you have other people doing it for you. So, and owning your own job is not a bad deal, by the way. It's not a bad deal. But we follow this model, and a good friend of mine, Ben Kinney, who lives in Washington, we sold Ben a ranch a couple of years ago up near Gatesville. He and Jay Papazan actually own it together, and they've got a bunch of exotics on it. It's a great ranch. The ranch had some exotics when they bought it, some attics and different things. But I asked Ben one time to summarize The Millionaire Real Estate Agent in one word. It's a big book, and I asked him to summarize it. He thought for a second, and then he said, strategically removing yourself from every part of your business based on the value of your time. And so you start at the bottom. So you start with the basic admin work, and you outsource that to a virtual assistant if you can. And then you move to a really good, top-notch executive assistant like Virginia. And then then Virginia's job becomes, okay, you need to start outsourcing the marketing, and you need to start outsourcing some administrative work so that you can come alongside me as an assistant executive. And then your whole operations team will ultimately come under that person if you're running your business right. If you're not a micromanager, it ultimately would come under that person. That executive assistant becomes your assistant executive. You see the difference? And then your operations team answers to them, so that you never lose focus of your one thing. What your one thing is, making it rain. Your one thing is making business happen, meeting people, connecting networks, and then continuing your innovative approach, because just like in any business, if you're very successful here, somebody else is going to come in and try to get into the space. And right now you're leaps and bounds ahead of them. But like you mentioned earlier, the compression of time in which technology is evolving and social media allows people to go viral, and we've got to continually be innovating and being different, and that means we've got to be involved in our industry, not working inside of our business. We're working on the business, not in it. So that's why I asked you those questions about your next key hire and how you go find those people.
Yeah, no, and that's invaluable, and I appreciate that, Kasey. And we're going to be talking more about that as we go forward, because I'm going to look to you for some advice, and what you've just said, and I'd like to read that book as well.
I'll send you a copy of 2 books, MREA, and then I'll send you a copy of The One Thing. I bet I can get Jay to sign a copy of The One Thing. I'll send you that. And then The One Thing's got a cool podcast also. It's called The One Thing Podcast. Surprisingly simple truths to I should know this. Surprisingly simple truths to extraordinary production. I think I should know that. I'm going to get hung for that. Cool. So tell us about your hunt giveaway, tell us about your hunt giveaway, because I clicked on the site for the first time yesterday on the new site, and it popped up, win a free black buck hunt. So I'm all in on that. I've registered like every which way you can register to get as many entries in the pot as possible. But tell us about the hunt giveaway.
Nice. So yeah, we're really excited. We partnered with a pretty new ranch called Collect, Texas, which is in Bradford County, just outside of Bryan College Station. Owner Dusty Phillips, really good guy. He's a home builder there in town that I've known about for years and years. But he's a huge hunter, been hunting all over the world. His website, Collect Texas, is exotichunting.com. You need to check it out, because he has one of every animal I think is in North America and probably Africa. But he was gracious enough to partner with us to offer a trophy black buck hunt that we're going to give away in conjunction with our recent site launch or relaunch. And it's free to sign up. All you do is go to the website. You'll see several different ways to get to the giveaway page. You'll log in through Facebook or email or whatever, and there's several. I think you can enter up to 5 or 6 times. We're going to do that. Giveaway is going to run through February, so we'll probably have a Facebook Live giveaway at the ranch is kind of what we're planning on doing, and it's a package. I think it's valued about $3,000. 2 days,
perfect.
2 nights. Trophy black buck can bring a guest. So it's a really cool deal. We're super excited about it. We've got some other hunts lined up that we're going to give away after this one's over. So something to just stay in the loop with what we're doing. Stay on Facebook, all our social media stuff. Check on the site, because we're going to be adding lots of new listings with lots of new hunts here in the coming weeks and then going forward. And then if anybody has any questions, they can either contact us through the site, call us. It's 1-844-GO-HUNT-1 to call any of us, or they can reach me directly. Craig Ellwanger, find me on Facebook, be my friend, and shoot me a PM if you have any questions. But just let us know if you need advice, need help booking a hunt. Be as specific as you need. Give us your budget, give us your location, how many people, what do you want included, and we can find a perfect package that's tailored to you with a premier hunt provider in Texas or somewhere in the country. So, yeah,
I love it. Now ask me about my free hunt giveaway.
I want to hear about your free hunt giveaway.
Thanks for asking, Craig. Yeah, thanks for asking. Because we hadn't had enough people sign up. So if you're listening, we're trying to give y'all something for free here. Get your phone out. You need to go to allaboutexotics.com, sign up for Craig's Black Buck Hunt giveaway. And you need to go to feverpursuit.com/podcast because we're giving away a trophy hunt in the 2017 season. And the reason I don't have the species on there is because I'm trying to line up a lease on an elk ranch in New Mexico to hunt a trophy bull. If we can get that done, it'll be a bull elk hunt. If not, it's probably going to be a trophy whitetail hunt. But at the least, it will be a trophy whitetail hunt. It'll be well worth you registering for the podcast. But you can't just go to iTunes and listen to it there. You've got to go to our website, feverpursuit.com/podcast, and register for the free hunt so that we can give you something cool. And I promise you, we're not going to beat you up with a bunch of crappy emails.
Yeah, same here. And hey, maybe the same person could win both, and wouldn't that be a year? That'd be
maybe
fun. So
it'd be better if I won yours and you won mine, and we can go on 2 hunts together.
No, we'd give them back. We'd re-give them away, wouldn't we, Kasey?
The business owners we are, we definitely would give them away. Yep. Okay. All right, man. How can we help you? Anything else we can do? I've got my marching orders. I'm going to write a blog post about diseases and exotics and native wildlife. I'm going to get you some invitation to a couple of classes that we put on. I'm going to send you a copy of the One Thing book.
Yeah, right on.
And Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. What else can we do to help you?
Man, that's it. Just stay in tune with us. With our blog, we can use anything that you have. We need content to share. So if it's anything exotic related, man, pass it on, and we'll share it to our following. So we're always looking for stuff like that. Just stay in contact. Anything we can do to help. I want to send you, because like I said, we're so focused on exotics that when somebody asks about an elk or a mule deer or a whitetail, honestly, I would rather send that somewhere else. So just send it to you guys so that you can help them out. Because I know very little. I shot my first elk last year or in September out in New Mexico, and that was my first experience with Mountain West hunting. So it was a.
Did you catch the bug?
Oh yeah, dude, it's bad. It's real bad. I'd heard about it, but man, that thing bites hard and it digs in deep. So
yes, it does.
Yeah. This
podcast is going to air. You're going to do some more of that. Okay. Well, we'll work together on those. And, any of your clients that have questions about ranch stuff too, if it's property taxes management or buying and selling, that's what we do. It's right in our wheelhouse. So send them our way and we'll take care of them and you, and look forward to growing this partnership together. So this podcast is going to air on the 24th, next Tuesday, hopefully 7 o'clock in the morning Tuesday. So we'll push it out on iTunes. We'll push it out on all of our social media channels. So you can find us at Bucks to Business Podcast, at Mock Ranches, at Fever Pursuit. So we'll push it out on our social channels. It'll be on iTunes. We usually put it on YouTube as well. It's nothing to watch but a flat screen. So we'll push that out. Appreciate you guys share it too, and appreciate your time, man. I know you got to go pick kids up from school.
Yeah, I got to take them to the golf course. They both got a golf tournament tomorrow. Our little girl, it's her first, so that'll be interesting.
There you go.
She's 8.
Good luck on the course. She can probably teach me something about swinging the golf club.
Thanks, man.
All right, buddy. It. Well, hopefully we get a good response to this. We get some people signing up for those free hunts and signing up for the website, taking advantage of all that y'all are doing. Anything we can do to help, let us know, and we'll get you a copy of this sent out.
Yeah, as long as you don't lose subscribers after this airs, then I'll feel good about what we've done here today.
I'll send you a bill if we start losing subscribers.
Oh, don't make it a big one.
Okay, I know you're a startup. We'll be easy on the budget.
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
Appreciate you, bud.
All right, Craig. All right, thanks, man. Take care.
Yeah, we'll talk soon.
You bet.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please follow us on iTunes and give us a review. We enjoy reading your reviews, and the ratings help us move up the list. You can also follow us on social media at Instagram or Facebook at Bucks to Business Podcast.